Hi everybody, welcome back to the channel. I hope you all have a beautiful day as we reset and transform into the renewing of our minds. Today's topic is about master of your fate, where faith meets manifestation. There comes a point in your life when you realize that you cannot control everything. That happens to you. But you can decide what happens within you because of it. Being the master of your fate does not mean believing you have absolute control over your circumstances. Life has a way of bringing unexpected endings. Sometimes we encounter betrayal, we experience delays, losses, and opportunities and changes you never planned for. That's why I always say adulting is ghetto. Mastery begins when you begin to understand that circumstances do not have to become your identity. You still have the authority over your choices. You still have the authority over your responses. And you still have the authority over what you believe is possible for your future. So continue believing in yourself. Continue to understand what the word says when it says faith is dead without works. So we want to be disciplined workers and continue to plant seeds, because if you understand or live by the laws of nature, if you do the work, you will reap the harvest. And when that personal authority is joined with faith, manifestation becomes more than simply wishing for something. It becomes a way of intentionally participating in the life you are building. And so nothing happens all at once. This is practice. This is consistency. This is discipline. And this is us taking one step forward on the path and the journey as God shows us more paths, and we continue to focus on what we want to grow. Faith is saying before you see. So when I work with the inner child, with my clients, connecting to the inner child, I love it because everything that you guys see me doing is what I've dreamed of. It's what I saw. It's like my own imaginary world manifesting into the physical. If you think back to when you went to church with your grandparents, whether you went with your mother, your father, but they talk about a man is what he think of. And that is the faith is seeing before you see. Sometimes your physical reality will tell you it's over. And you got to realize that that is just your conscious lying to you or repeating what you've been through and putting the safety mechanisms intact so it can prepare you for the loss. So I noticed early on in my stage, I would always think about the worst case scenario. I no longer think about the worst case scenario now, because things that happen in your life that are misfortunate, they are opportunities and learning experience. So I just prepare for roadblocks, and I know that everything is working out for my good. And I want you to keep that in mind as you travel this journey. Faith whispers, keep going. Your circumstances may tell you there is no way. Faith says a way can be made still. The Bible describes faith as, now faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. Hebrews 11:1. That is powerful because so much of manifestation begins in the unseen. Before something becomes your reality, it often exists first as an idea, a vision, a prayer, a decision, or even a conviction. You see yourself healed before your circumstances change. You imagine peace before your environment becomes peaceful. And I'm pretty sure that many of you were like, I'm leaving this relationship. I'm not doing this no more. And you probably strategized what it was you need to do before you actually did it. That is seeing before you see. You believe prosperity is possible before the opportunity arrives, and you envision a different life while still standing inside of the old one. And that is preparing, planting. You may have other herbs or flowers in your garden, but you're still preparing a new one. And it may not come out in the next 2 months, but one day you'll walk out and it'll be full, flourishing, and it'll almost be time for harvesting. That's why I love the laws of nature, especially gardening, because it always connects and restores the idea. Faith gives you the strength to keep building what you cannot fully see yet. So I know that a lot of you guys are constantly working on manifestation, trying to create new daily rituals, whether it is dealing with affirmations, gratitude list, or just trying to get on a better path of being at peace with yourself and your rituals of solitude and meditation. Manifestation is sometimes reduced to thinking positively and waiting for the universe to deliver something. But transformation usually requires participation. You have to be active in the things that you say that you want, because I want you to remember that faith is dead without works. You can pray for a new opportunity and still have to submit the application. You can believe you deserve peace and still have to establish boundaries. You can ask God for financial stability and still have to change your habits, create something, learn something, save something, or take a risk. You can pray for a new beginning and still have to walk away from what's keeping you distracted, what's pulling you backwards. And so we want to think about how we want to move forward. So you all hear them talking about doing the same thing is insanity. And so what are you doing today to contribute to your future self? Because I always say what we do today will echo into eternity. So how are you altering your day? So I'll give you an example real quick. So I became a minimalist, and this impacted everybody around me in what they saw. They saw me go through a transformation which affected every level of my life. It affected my parenting, it affected my household, it affected my work performance, and it also affected my creation. It allowed me to be more successful, more focused, more dedicated, and more intentional. I decided to let go so I can hold space and clear out and make room for God to come in. And so with that being said, I needed peace. So I let go of a lot of things, people, places, and things, so I could have peace. I needed rest. I let go of these things so I no longer had to maintain them anymore. I needed time to focus on my relationship with God. Well, I went into solitude, and then I just built all these systems. And so life essentially became easier, because they talk about building the neural pathways in your mind. I rebuilt the neural pathways in my mind and destroyed the ones that I previously was operating off. So when I get a thought, I try to destroy that thought and think about something more worth my while, because all I have is now. What has been done has been done. I only use the past, if I'm using it to acknowledge, to overcome, to celebrate, to laugh, because my life has been interesting. And I use it as a guide of where I don't want to go, so I can develop new neural pathways. So faith without movement can become wishful thinking. Your actions will tell your vision that you are preparing to receive what you have been asking for. There's a difference between saying, I believe my life will change, and living every day like change is actually possible. You gotta believe it. You gotta know it for yourself. Your words help shape your direction. So pay attention to your language. You continuously speak over yourself. So when I started coaching, and I would listen to my clients and I would hear them say some of the things that I said to myself previously. And we say some of the saddest things that you would say to yourself, because you would never say these things to other people. So I want you guys to be mindful of not saying bad and negative things about yourself, such as nothing ever works for you. You'll never get ahead. Everybody leaves. You're always struggling. When you repeat these things long enough, these statements can become beliefs. Beliefs influence decisions, and decisions influence outcome. And that does not mean every hardship exists because someone manifested it. Life is far more complicated than that, especially if you're the light and an empath and you're attracting narcissists. Baby, they just come. They see the light. My mother used to say the freaks come out at night. So I understand that now. I definitely stay in the house, and I definitely try to move within the respectful hours of laws of nature, because I understand what energy is, how it tries to attach to you, and how you just need to be mindful about the spaces that you move in for protection and to protect what it is that you're building. It means that we should recognize the power we possess. Because I think too often most of us take the light, the knowledge, the experience, and what you've actually been doing for granted. You're not celebrating yourself. So today's reminder is to celebrate yourself. And instead of declaring defeat over yourself, begin speaking possibilities. I want you to say this. I want you to repeat after me. I am becoming wiser. I am making better decisions. I am creating stability. I am worthy of healthy love. I am walking towards purpose. God is directing my steps even when I cannot see the entire road. And so, words alone are not magic, but words influence mindset. Mindset influences behavior, and behavior can change the direction of a life. And remember, you all hear that words are spells, words are commandments, words are interesting. And so we need to understand that our languages, once upon a time, many of us, they were different. So when I started reading and speaking other languages such as Spanish, such as Hebrew, such as Swahili, I really started understanding the impact of words. And remember, words are also spells. And sometimes the manifestation is you. We often think manifestation means receiving the house, relationship, money, business, career, opportunity. And I'm going to tell you, none of that stuff matters if you have not manifested peace in your life. Because you can have all of these things and not still feel whole, satisfied, or appreciative within yourself. That's important. But sometimes the greatest manifestation is the person you become while pursuing those things. Maybe you prayed for abundance, but first you had to develop discipline. Maybe you prayed for love, but first you had to learn boundaries. And maybe you prayed for success, but first you had to stop needing everyone's approval. And maybe you prayed for peace, but first you had to become comfortable walking away from chaos. And maybe you prayed for a new life, but God began by creating a new you. That transformation matters because receiving something and being prepared to sustain it are two different things. And so a lot of times we don't understand that the misfortune in your life is developing character. All the stuff that's going wrong in your life is developing character. God wants to know, how are you going to handle it? He's giving you an opportunity, a lesson, an experience, and it's making you better. You just have to make sure you do not fall. And if you fall, you have to make sure that you get back up. And you have to enjoy the opportunity. This is duality. As above, so below. You cannot garden and get the harvest if you do not put it in the dirt. You have to put it in the dirt so the experiences that we are experiencing that we don't like, because it's not all roses, is a part of that growth cycle. So I want you to think about the things that you don't like, that you're unsatisfied with. I often tell my clients is, if you do not like it, and if you are not satisfied, try to change some of the things involved in it. To think about, how is this helping me? What am I learning? How can I gain from this situation? And create positive thoughts to talk to yourself about. Positive surroundings. And especially, I'm always going to tell you, get you some bomb juice. Your favorite juice can change your bad day or your bad year or your bad month or your bad circumstance into a moment of reflection and appreciation. Tapping into that taste senses. You are not powerless. One of life's most dangerous beliefs is believing that everyone else has power over your destiny. People may delay you. People may disappoint you. People may misunderstand you. People may even intentionally work against you. But another person's action do not automatically determine the conclusion of your story. You can redirect. You can rebuild. You can learn. You can start again. You can become more discerning. You can choose differently. You can pray differently. And you can continue moving forward. And being the master of your fate means refusing to surrender your entire future to something that happened in your past. Let me read that again. Being the master of your fate means refusing to surrender your entire future to something that happened in your past. Y'all gotta let it go. Y'all gotta learn how to let it go. Let it go, let it go, let it go. How you gonna get what you more focused on what happened to you. You're not being intentional and focusing on where you want to go. Which means if you're focusing on your past, it means you're upset. So you're probably not excited and using that great energy that you have inside of you to envision the unseen so it can be seen, which is you doing the inner work so you can manifest the outer work. And I want you to be mindful of what you continue thinking about is programming. So you may continuously manifest that into your life because you haven't released and let it go. Faith changes how you walk through the unknown. You will not always know what happens yet. That is where faith becomes essential. Faith allows you to say, I don't know how this will work out, but believe my life. But I believe my life still has purpose. I don't know which door will open, but I will continue preparing myself. I do not understand this season, but I refuse to believe this season is my final destination. And there is incredible power in continuing to move when you cannot see the entire staircase. You don't need every answer, and sometimes you simply need enough faith to take the next step. Become the master of your fate. Your fate is not mastered by controlling every moment of event around you. It is mastered through the relationship between faith, intention, responsibility, action, and surrendering. Know what you desire. Pray about it. Visualize it. Speak life over it. Work towards it. Make decisions that align with it. Release what contradicts it. And understand that sometimes God's answers will look different from the picture you originally created. And that does not always mean manifestation failed. Sometimes the destination changes because your understanding changed. Sometimes the closed door was protection. Sometimes the delay was preparation. And sometimes losing what you desperately wanted creates the room for what you actually need. And so dream boldly, but leave room for the divine connection. Be intentional even to shape yourself and your life, disciplined enough for it to work, courageous enough to change course, and faithful enough to trust what you cannot see. You are writing your story with every decision you make. Faith is the ink, action is the pen, wisdom is the editor, and God can still turn a chapter you never wanted into the beginning of something you never imagined. Today's affirmation: I am active participant in creation of my life. I walk by faith instead of fear. I release what I cannot control and take responsibility for what I can. My thoughts, words, decisions, prayers, and actions are becoming aligned with the life I desire. I trust divine timing. I welcome divine direction, and I move confidently towards my purpose. I will not allow yesterday to dictate tomorrow. With faith in God and courage within myself, I will continue becoming the master of my faith. I hope you all have a beautiful week. I want to remind you that everything that you need is within you. All you have to do is show up. Plant something. What we do today will echo into eternity. And so I want to encourage you and send you love, peace. I want you to understand that some of you are having difficulties getting up and actually doing the basic things that you need to do to yourself. If you are ruminating, try your best to think about positive things and cut off the rumination, because your body goes through a lot when we ruminate. You might not physically feel like getting up. You might not feel like eating. You might not be able to actually get up and bathe. I want you to understand, everybody, for the most part, most people go through these things. And I want you to understand, whatever experience that you endured, you are better than that. It was a lesson. It was a learning experience, and you will get through it. So I send you peace, love, understanding, and encouragement. And I love you guys.